No, thank you. Sleepy. You come back in an hour. Need sleepy. Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Good morning, everybody. Glad you could be with us. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located in beautiful St. Simons Island, Georgia. Check out the menu online, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Also, today's show is being brought to us in part by JKJ Boxing Magazine. Subscribe today. It's for free. Yeah, you heard it right. It's for free. Click the JKJ Boxing Magazine cover located on the front page of BillyCBoxing.com and get your copy today. It's for free, so get it. And by the way, the new issue is due out in the next couple of weeks, so make sure you sign up so you can start getting JKJ Boxing Magazine regularly. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by my book. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. Check it out online if you want. Right now you can get a copy. Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and of course the electronic versions are available as well. We've been off for a little bit, but we're back. And hopefully we'll get this party started. Coming up later in the week, specifically tomorrow, we got our Blast from the Past featuring former World Heavyweight Champion, Boxing Hall of Famer, and probably the most recognizable sports figure on the planet today, Muhammad Ali. That's going to be our Blast from the Past tomorrow. Also tomorrow, we're scheduled to have my man, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey State Boxing Commissioner Larry Hazard join us, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But today, speaking of New Jersey, joining me right now is my man, Sal Rocky Cenicola. What's up, Sal?
Hey, good morning, Bill. How are you?
I don't know. How was that gulp of coffee?
It was good. Hey, I went to my first Kentucky Derby party this weekend.
Oh, really? That was an exciting Kentucky Derby, wasn't it?
It was. My horse, I picked number 13 because that's my birth date. So, but he won. But I didn't get to choose who I picked as far as the ticket. I lost. But yeah, it was exciting Kentucky Derby. You know, it was interesting. And it was my first Kentucky Derby party. I had an invitation. It was very nice. And we were all drinking mint juleps, and I had on my outfit and my hat and all this, and the ladies had on their hats. It was very nice. I felt very Southern at the time.
Yeah, well, my question is this. I mean, I've never been to a Kentucky Derby party, that just get around. I mean, the whole thing on TV, the broadcast was like a couple of hours, and it's just anticipation build-up for a 3-minute run. I mean, what was the party like?
Well, it was pretty much the same thing with anticipation build-up. It was a great party. You had a lot of nice people there, a lot of people well-to-do, doctors, attorneys, and builders, and just good group of people, good class of people. It was at a beautiful house, and you had some fantastic food, party food, little finger food, as well as dessert, and of course there were mint juleps, beers, and other beverages. But and we'd sit and we'd talk for a couple of hours first and get to know one another and mingle a little bit. And then we all sat around 2 big screen TVs to watch the Kentucky Derby. And we were all anticipating a great race, which it was a pretty good one. And that was it. then after the party, we made a couple announcements, finished up our drinks, and this and that was it. I went back to throwing pies.
Yeah, back to Sal's. But
Back
let's
to
get back.
Sal.
Let's get back to boxing.
I had my official bow tie on too.
Oh.
I learned how to tie a real bow tie, not a clip on.
I was just gonna say, how did you tie it with the little clip?
No, forget about it. I did a real good job on this bow tie. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
A lot different from the traditional Windsor knot, if you will.
My best bow tie is bow tie pasta, but that's a whole nother
Bow
story.
tie pasta. I hear you.
Anyway, we had a big fight over the weekend. Saul Canelo Alvarez topping Amir Kahn, and I actually called LDL TV's big shot guru John Musciunas and said, "Hey, don't be." And I actually tried calling you too, but I don't know. I couldn't get through or whatever. Maybe
if you tried calling me, you would have gotten me.
I'm telling you, I didn't. I tried calling you just before the.
I was there anticipating a call from you.
Listen, I'm telling you that I called you just before the pay-per-view started, and and then I called John, and my line was this. The reason why I was calling you, I guess it was a good thing. I said to John, don't be surprised if Amir Kahn upsets Saul Canelo Alvarez. I said because his movement and hand speed may be a factor. Well, I was totally wrong on that, obviously, as Saul Canelo Alvarez came out on top, knocking out Amir Kahn in 6 rounds. Canelo Alvarez improves to 48 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, with 34 of his wins coming by knockout. As far as Amir Kahn goes, I thought that he had the right game plan. He drops to 31-4 with 19 knockouts. I just think that the size was too much for him, and he's always been questioned with a suspect chin, and as far as the trainer goes, Virgil Hunter, I'm not so sure why everybody thinks this guy is so great. I mean, I didn't see anything in terms of, constructive criticism or constructive instruction in the corner, aside from the mental comments and the mental approach. I see this trend, Sal, with trainers that are being given all these accolades and stuff, and I'm not seeing any kind of result from the fighter since adding this guy on. This was a guy that was supposed to help Amir Kahn with his defense and be more fluid with his offense, all at the same time, employing a defense that will protect him from power punches like Canelo Alvarez. And I felt that it all came up short on Saturday night. Did you get a chance to look at that, and do you have any thoughts?
You're right on. And I'll tell you what. As I said, when I first looked at this fight, I knew that definitely Amir Kahn had some speed, had the ability to get in and out, had combinations. And I think the first 3 rounds of the fight, he exhibited everything he needed to. It's just a matter of how long could he sustain that over a 12-round fight. The bottom line is he did well. He got in, he got out, he hit him with combinations, he got out of the way. And to Canelo's credit, this is the first time I saw him try to effectively cut off the ring and punch side to side, a little more so than what we've seen him in the past. But I always had this sense, and I talked to you about this earlier, it's almost like this impending doom was awaiting Kahn. It's like Triple G when he fought David Lemieux. David Lemieux was going to go out there and try and do things, but again, this was a similar approach, and you had the same result. The matador was trying to defend himself against the bull, and you saw definitely Alvarez being the bull, and for the most part, Kahn did a good job. He parried some punches. He got out of the way. He got in and out. He had some head movement. And to Alvarez's credit, he did have some head movement as well, because not everything caught him. But he got an opportunity in that 6th round to crush Kahn, with that overhand right hook. It almost looked like a hook. He just came right over to the left, boom. And that's where Kahn got careless. And that's what he paid for that mistake. Very much so.
Yeah, very much so is an understatement. He was knocked flat on his back. It did look a little scary. 2 minutes and 37 seconds was the official time of the sixth round. I also am critical of Kenny Bayless, the referee, not for his actions at the stoppage, because I think he did the right thing, but leading up to the fight, I mean, they showed you the pre-fight instructions, and you know, I just get so pissed off, Sal, when I see these guys that are just they're performing for the cameras. You know, listen, the focus should have been 100%, 100%, Sal. All right,
I got it.
You got that?
I'm on a page.
100% for specifically the two fighters in this fight. I don't give a crap about the referee. I don't want to see the profiles on the judges. I don't want to see the history of the trainers. I want to see nothing but the two fighters and whatever little tidbits they want to add leading up to the fight. I mean, that's it. You know, I just...
Maybe a little ring card girl.
I love the ring card girls. I mean, you know, come on. I love them. They're part of it. You know, that's what I don't like about the... PBC series, because they've taken that out. But as far as the fight itself, yeah, I agree with you. I think Canelo did improve fighting fighters with movement and everything else. But I tell you, what bothered me the most, and it had nothing to do with the fight, it was leading up to the fight, the war of words. Canelo says... because everybody's asking Canelo about Triple G, of course, right? And Canelo says, "Oh, he needs to earn his shot at my title." You know, that Triple G does not deserve a shot at the WBC title. This is what Canelo says. He needs to work his way up. He needs to earn his shot. He says he would have to fight somebody who has skill, somebody that brings it. Yeah, he's got all these knockouts, but who's he fought? You know, I can't stand it. It's you know, I can't stand the fact that, first of all, I can't stand the fact that Canelo said that, but he's not the only one. Everybody that is a non-Triple G fan uses that. My question is, what are you supposed to do? Force somebody to get in the ring with him? You know, if Canelo was a man, all he would have to do is fight Triple G. Now, after the fight, he gave... he gave up that, you know, and he started saying, "Oh yeah, you know, I invited him to come to this ring. Like in Mexico, we don't F around. I don't fear anyone. I don't come to play in this sport. I'll put the gloves in right now and fight him. People say I'm scared, but I'm willing to fight anybody. There's no need to be scared of a fighter like Triple G." And then the latest is that. You know, they've decided to you know, make an offer. They're referring to it as an offer. What are you doing? What are you doing, Sal? It sounds like you're ruffling some papers around. I don't know.
You know what? I'm sorry. I was just getting my notes. Exactly what I was doing. Boy, that microphone is really good.
I tell you,
put them down. I was just getting papers. That's all I was doing.
The point is, all kidding aside, the point is like, you know, fight the guy. You know, if Canelo is so good, and they're really trying to build it up, like this was a great pay-per-view and all that, the rest of the card sucked. I don't think it was worth $70. That's what I had to pay, $70, $69.95 for the high def, and I slept through. The first couple of fights. I mean, Curtis Stevens, just to get everybody caught up real quick, Curtis Stevens improved to 28-5 with 21 knockouts when he knocked out previously unbeaten Patrick Teixeira. And this was an impressive fight for Stevens, even though it only lasted less than 2 rounds. But if you remember, Curtis Stevens used to be trained by Andre Rozier, who I think is a terrible trainer, awful. I mean, terrible is an understatement. And his first fight back, he gets put in as really the B-side, the opponent, and really looked good in the less than 6 minutes we saw. to improve to 28-5. In a fight that went the distance, but it was extremely one-sided, was Frankie Pitbull Gomez. He improved to 21-0 with 13 knockouts when he scored a 10-round unanimous decision over Mauricio Herrera, which a lot of people thought would beat Gomez, considering Gomez has had some problems in the ring making weight, plus his level of opposition is nowhere near Herrera, but Herrera looked like a finished fighter. And then your boy, you're one of your fighters that you love, David Lemieux, he looked good and very, aggressive in stopping Glenn Tapia, who's a good fighter. He knocked him out at 56 seconds of the fourth round to improve to 35-3 with 32 knockouts. The Jersey boy, Glenn Tapia, drops to 23-3. And David Lemieux, he looked like he's that next level middleweight. You got Triple G, then you got David Lemieux and the rest of them. Did you get a chance to see all those fights?
No, I did not, but I will definitely see them. I paid for them, so I'm going to review them tonight.
Well, that's cool. The whole BS with Canelo and Triple G and calling, saying he doesn't want to fight, he's going to make him an offer. I can't stand it. Was Canelo impressive? Yeah, he was. But let's make no mistake. They both weigh in before the fight at the contracted weigh-in max, which was 155. Canelo weighed in. He made the weight. Amir Kahn made the weight. And then fight night, which is common. Canelo weighed. He was a light heavyweight. He weighed over 170.
Unbelievable. It's so unbelievably disruptive to what my train of thought is as far as boxing and the weight classes and the weigh-ins and all that. It's like I said, I think the weigh-in should be the morning of the fight, and it's the way that I remember, and it's safer for the fighters, and it's more right on with the weight class you're going to be classified in. Just crazy.
Well, it's safer for the fighters, but according to the WBC, it's not. They think it's safer for the fighters to weigh in the day before. So I'm curious to know, and they say they have statistics to prove that. I'm curious to know and see any statistics that the WBC can pull out their ass and show me how it's safer for a guy like Saul Canelo Alvarez to dry out and step on a scale and weigh 155 pounds, and then 24 hours later weigh 175 pounds, putting on 20 pounds. And the only reason why he says he's a 155-pound fighter is because he knows that he can dry out and lose 20 pounds, and his opponents can't. That's the only reason.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair. I really don't. And, it's going to be something that we're going to have to look at both sides of the aisle every time and see what the pros and cons are. And we're not going to have a say in the matter, but no, it should definitely be the day of the fight.
I tell you what, I'm going to read a couple of emails. You pop a cough drop, and we can go on. Jesse, my man Jesse says, "Hey Billy C, what's your thoughts on Bryant Perella?" He says, "What's your thoughts?" Well, I'll tell you, Bryant, and his nickname is Goodfella Perella. I'm sure my man Sal likes that. Bryant Goodfella Perella is ranked by the computer at number 76 in the world. He is a fighter that fights at 147. He's 6 foot tall, 13-0 with 12 knockouts. He's a southpaw. In his professional career, of his 13 fights, he's got a 90. Of his 12 knockouts of his 13 fights, he's got a 92% knockout ratio. His amateur career, 70 wins, 9 losses. He beat some big names like Rod Kaladazik, Regis Progress, and Miguel Cruz. His last 10 fights in a row were all by knockout. I look at this kid and I see a guy who's been put in with decent opposition. He's been moved the way I like to move a young fighter, in a progressive fashion. His last win was a second-round stoppage over Ramon Ayala, who was 25 wins, 5 losses, and a draw going into that fight. Bottom line, Jesse, I like Bryant Perella. I think he's a good prospect and one that I'm looking forward to seeing more of. So he also says, if Canelo, for some reason, doesn't want to fight Triple G, then and the belt is vacated, then I'd like to see Triple G fight Jorge Sebastian Hyland, Arif Magomedov, or Chris Eubank Jr. Listen, if Triple G doesn't get to fight Canelo and he's got to fight one of these guys, you know what's going to happen? People are going to say, "Oh, he didn't fight anybody." Sebastian Hyland, yes, he's an impressive record from the other side of the pond, but he's not a big name. Chris Eubank Jr. might be a little too soon, but the bottom line, Sal, real quick. I mean, he's got no other choice. He can only fight who they put in front of him. Triple G.
Well, that's right, and everybody, like you were saying earlier, wants to down Triple G. But the guy's fighting everybody that they put in front of him, number one. Number two, I think he's one of the most complete fighters out there today. And I don't see him ducking anybody. He's got to just be, in a position where they're going to put the fighters in front of him.
He goes on to give me a quote from Teddy Atlas, is my man Jesse. He says, Teddy Atlas said that Triple G and Canelo is not going to happen because Canelo's just pounding his chest saying that he'll face Triple G, but in reality, Canelo doesn't want to face him. I think Teddy is right. Canelo is just promoting his name on TV to steal the spotlight. Guess what? I agree with Jesse, agreeing with Teddy, and I agree with Teddy making that statement. I think Teddy is pretty accurate with that. I don't normally agree with all of Teddy Atlas's comments, but I do agree with that. I don't think Canelo Alvarez wants any part of Triple G. What do you think?
I agree with you, and I think Teddy is correct on that statement. Canelo Alvarez just coming off this fight, he's posturing. He's got the attention, and he's posturing. He's going to he wants to be the big world beater and all this. Well, you know what? I don't think the next thing he wants to do is step in the ring with Triple G, because I think the fight would definitely wind up. You'll have to be picking up Canelo Alvarez off the canvas.
No doubt. Two more comments from Jesse, and then I got another email to read. He says, what's your thoughts on Tyson Fury saying this is going to be his last fight because he has no motivation? I believe Tyson Fury. I was talking to somebody about this the other day on the phone, and I actually believe Tyson Fury. Listen, here's a guy who came from nothing. He's made some substantial money. I don't think he wastes it. At least I don't see it blatantly. But I see him making another big payday in the rematch, and I could see him ride off into the sunset. And especially if he wins, I mean, that's even better. So, yeah, I can see it, and I believe Tyson Fury has no motivation. And I honestly think that if he beats Klitschko again, that'll spell the end for Klitschko. Not that it shouldn't be the end already. But I can't see Vladimir Klitschko losing to Tyson Fury a second time. He says, Billy, do you think that we'll ever see boxing under a single promotion like a UFC, or is it too corrupt to ever get to something like that? This way we can get the best fights made without the politics, money, and corruption that goes on. The UFC puts the best fights made without any major drama going on. Sal, we were talking about this exact topic off the air, and there's no way boxing, and this is my big frustration, there's no way boxing could ever get back to the way it was. We always talk about, especially two old guys like you and myself, we're always talking about, boxing, we got to help it get back to the way it was. We got to get it back into mainstream, blah, blah, blah. But let's be real. We're hamsters in a wheel, Sal, because boxing's never going to get back to the way it was. It's not. We don't have the fighters. The fighters don't want to fight anymore. The fighters all have taken the Floyd Mayweather blueprint, which worked for Floyd. And like I've said over and over and over, there's only one Floyd Mayweather, but everybody else has interpreted that as that's the best way to go, meaning cherry pick opponents, fight the easiest opponent as possible, try to make the most money, and pound your chest and say you're the best. And that's exactly what has been taking place. We have more division in the sport of boxing today than ever in any sport that I've ever seen. And I can't ever think in a million years that all of a sudden the sanctioning bodies who make their living off of boxing and the sanctioning fees are all of a sudden, Sal, going to say, you know what, for the good of boxing, let's cancel our bank account. Let's just walk away. I can't see the television network saying, let's be fair and switch the big fights and alternate with our competitors. I can't see boxing promoters that are willing to say, hey, you know what? You and I don't get along, but our two fighters, it's good for the sport. Let's make it happen. I can't see any of that happening, Sal. I know you look at things more positively. What do you think?
Well, you know what? When you look at all the moving parts of what has been orchestrated and developed and evolving, and you see all these sanctioning bodies and their presidents and the money that's involved. No, I think it's too big of a tidal wave that we're going to have to surf, and I'll tell you what, it's crushing and it's killing boxing, and it's become more with these fighters, more than what I say the fluff than the actual stuff, and you know they definitely deserve the big paydays, they deserve the money, but they deserve the opportunity to work and eliminate the lower echelon fighters the way that the old days did, and let the best rise to the top, and let the best fighters face each other through a promoter that has the guts to say, hey, this is how we're going to orchestrate and how we're going to develop and how we're going to groom our future boxers and see what we can do. It's not going to happen, Bill, because everybody wants to make that money, and there's more of it out there to be made when you have the demand from the unknowing public that gets the fluff and not the stuff.
Yeah, it isn't going to happen. It's never going to get back to the way it was. And the sport's in some serious trouble, at least the way we know it. You know, if the fans are okay with it the way it is now, then everything's going along great. I got another email I want to read real quick. This is from my man Bobby from Annapolis. He says, I was wondering if you saw the Ortiz-Berto fight on a couple Saturdays ago. He says, people are questioning Victor's heart, which I totally disagree with. He got rocked big time and was totally out on his feet after the second knockdown, and the ref made the correct decision by stopping it, in my opinion. He says, I was seriously considering putting some dough on Ortiz the day to fight, but then I remembered the Collazo fight from a couple of years ago when Victor got knocked out by a weird punch and couldn't continue. Right there, my decision was made for me to take Berto at minus 140. In your opinion, do you think Victor has any future left in boxing? He says, personally, I don't think so. I think that was his last chance. Also, did you see the fan who threw and hit Ortiz in the face with a bunch of pizza boxes? I think that was Sal Rocky Cenicola. He says he probably lost money of him. A-hole should be charged and thrown in jail. By the way, I just wanted you to know that I love the new format of the show, and your segments with Sal are great on a daily basis.
Thank you very much.
Minute. Sure, this wasn't written by Sal Cenicola. Let me double check. Oh, no, it is. It's written from Bobby. He says, keep up the good work, and I hope you don't totally lose your passion for boxing. Well, Bobby, I am. I'm starting to lose my passion, but you're right. Sal and I have a lot of fun doing this, and we're glad you enjoy it. As far as your thoughts on Ortiz, you know, when I initially saw Ortiz staring at the referee with that where am I look, I immediately thought back to a time when he got knocked out and he said no one should take this kind of punishment, no one deserves it, blah, 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 against Madonna. And I started thinking, this guy's got no heart. But in hindsight, I think I agree more with you, Bobby, that he was out on his feet. The referee did make the right call. But I do also agree with you that it's over for Victor Ortiz. I don't think many people are going to care to see him again. I think that was his final chance, like you mentioned, Bobby. So I agree with you. And as far as you taking the Berto minus $140 at the last minute, smart move, my man, smart move. Let's get people caught up on some scores real quick, Sal, and then I got some big news I want to talk to you about, a positive thing in the sport of boxing. In Major League Baseball, the Nationals topped the Tigers 5-4. The Yankees, can you believe it? Get the drum roll. They won a game. They beat the Royals 6-3. The Red Sox over the A's. This is like a football score, 14-7. The Reds beat the Pirates 3-2. The Marlins over the Brewers 4-1. White Sox keep winning 8-4 over the Rangers. The Astros 7-1 over the Indians. The Diamondbacks 10-5 over the Rockies. The Mariners 5-2 over the Rays. The Blue Jays topped the Giants 3-1. And the Mets, the first place Mets, beat the Dodgers 4-2. The Padres, Cubs, and Orioles Twins games were both rained out. Over in some playoff action in the NBA playoffs, the Heat beat the Raptors 94-87 to tie up that series at 2-2. And the Warriors and the Blazers put on an offensive show totaling 257 points. The Warriors beat the Blazers 132-125, and they have a commanding lead in that series 3-1. Over on the ice, in the hockey playoffs, the Stars beat the Blues 3-2 to tie that series at 3 apiece, and also to tie the series at 3 apiece, the Predators beat the Sharks 4-3 in overtime. So that pretty much catches you guys up on some sports scores. And now some big news in boxing, which was announced last week, but this is the first time we get to talk about it. A guy that both you and I love, Sal, in the heavyweight division, Anthony Joshua, has signed an exclusive U.S. television agreement with Showtime. They will be doing a multi-fight deal with him, and the first fight is going to be scheduled for June 25th, coming out of the O2 Arena in London against Dominic Breazeale, who's an undefeated fighter. I love this fight. Anthony Joshua continues to prove that he's the real deal, and he's taken on other young fighters. And I'm not the only one that thinks so, because as soon as the tickets went on sale at the O2 Arena in London, which is a pretty big venue, it sold out in 30 minutes. 30 minutes, this fight sells out. What's your thoughts on Anthony Joshua taking on Dominic Breazeale, and what's your thoughts with Showtime stepping up and getting a long-term contract, or at least a multi-fight deal contract with this uprising star?
Well, I give Showtime all the accolades and credit for having the ability to recognize and to make that offer, because I think it's great. And that's how we're going to showcase boxing on a level. Because this Anthony Joshua, he's the real deal. I like him. He's a good, clean guy. He fights. He does what he says he's going to do. And he's humble, and he's a new future star of boxing. And I think we're going to have more of those fighters coming out of maybe Europe, who knows, and some here in the U.S. But hopefully those are going to be the kind of faces of tomorrow that are going to help boxing get back on the map with the popularity. And I think that's a great fight to chomp at that bit, boy, with Dominic Breazeale. Dominic Breazeale's a tough, heavy punching son of a gun. And I'll tell you what, that's going to give Joshua a real good night of fight, boy, I'll tell you. And that's great. Showtime stepping up, a fight being signed, and it's going to be a great showcase. And I think we'll look at the undercard too, Bill. I want to see what's going to go on there, because all eyes are going to be on Joshua and Breazeale.
Well, let me tell you something. And I've said this, if people go back and listen to some of the previous shows we've done over the last 13 years, you'll hear me talk about how I felt that the UK, specifically England, has carried the sport of boxing on their back. And I'll tell you the truth, they really have since the end of Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler and Roberto Duran, and of course Tommy the Hitman Hearns. Since those guys walked away from the sport, and arguably the last great era of boxing ended, I believe that the UK has carried boxing on its back. Maybe it hasn't produced the world recognized champions that the US has, but I will tell you this: it clearly has put on domestic fights that were in demand, something that the promoters here in the States do not do.
No, and you're so right there. And they've been the unsung heroes of boxing of late, and they have carried it, and they have promoted it, and they have cultivated it in their culture and to be on the world stage. So I do give them a lot of credit,
Earlier we were just talking about the Klitschko Tyson Fury rematch. They did have a press conference. They are scheduled to have their fight and a couple of their rematch, I should say, and a couple of quotes of Vladimir Klitschko. Says, "I'm really glad to perform here," because they were at they're going to have the fight at the MEN Arena in Manchester, England. He said, "This is my first time in a long time fighting on British soil. I can confirm I made a mistake in the fight with Fury that cost me my titles. Fury has great skills, obviously, but aside from that, people are looking forward to a champion who represents the sport of boxing in a good way. I'm not okay with what comes out of Fury's mouth. He's made a lot of statements that are disrespectful. We're all homosexuals and women are being the same. To that, I want to say to Fury, F off. I will not mince my words. I'm going to knock Tyson Fury out. This is kind of strange comments coming from Vladimir Klitschko, who's usually very controlled. Tyson Fury, on the other hand, some of his quotes from the same press conference says, it seems Vladimir found his balls from somewhere. He's going to have to come 1,000 times better. He was victorious for so long because he fought fighters who knew they couldn't win, and he's cheated so much. And when it's fair and square, he can't win. This fight's going to be different because I'm going to knock him out in a round. Boom, boom. Out goes the light.
Big words.
Yeah,
from a
it
big
is.
guy.
It is. So we'll have to wait and see. But it is a big fight that I'm looking for. And speaking of heavyweights, last time we did a blast from the past, Alex and I were talking about Joe Louis. And, normally I don't, like when I see comments on the internet and stuff like that on our shows, I usually don't put, get into them on the show. I wait for people to take the time to email me, and then I read their comments and respond. But some cat named Jay Hunter left a comment concerning us talking about Joe Louis against Tyson Fury. And Jay Hunter obviously doesn't know a left hook from a fish hook, said, and I quote, Tyson Fury would own Joe Louis. He's too big. He's too heavy. He has too long of a reach. He wouldn't stick around to get hit. Fury is on his toes the whole time. I don't know about you, Sal, but anybody that thinks that Tyson Fury would have beaten Joe Louis, and I don't care if he was 10 feet taller than he is now, and he had 5 foot longer arm reach than he does now, and if he could even box like he can't now, but if he had better boxing skill, there's no way that he would have beaten Joe Louis. What's your thoughts on that ridiculous comment from some guy named Jay Hunter?
I think they've been having too much that beer over in Europe. No, I'm teasing. I'll tell you, I don't see that ever happening in any generation or any era. No, Joe Louis was just such a solid fighter, and Tyson Fury. I don't want to say this, Billy, but he's one of the best of the bad. I mean, he's a big guy. I think he's clumsy. I think he's awkward. I think when he throws one punch, his arms are down by his knees on the other. I think you take a fighter like a Joe Louis, who's a boxer, who's a puncher, and I think you have a good trainer work with Joe Louis. Joe Louis is going to go in there. I think he's going to move. I think he's going to hit some solid shots, and if he ever puts that Brown Bomber's fist on Fury's chin, Fury's going to tumble like Gigantor and just fall.
You're not kidding.
And I'm telling you, Joe Louis was a complete fighter. Fury is not tested as a complete fighter. Yeah, and I don't think, I'll tell you what, Fury wants to retire after this fight he's talking about. But I'll tell you, after the rematch with Klitschko, I think there's going to be, I hope Joshua can last long enough before he retires. But you're going to see maybe a big money showdown if Fury gets past Klitschko, of maybe a Joshua and Fury being talked about.
Of course. And
that is going to be a big war. And I'll tell you what, I will look at Anthony Joshua being the Joe Louis of today, and I got to be very careful how I said that. But you know what I'm talking about, the style of fighting versus Fury. And I could see definitely Anthony Joshua giving Fury all he could look to do. Because Fury's wild. Fury's good. He's big. He uses his height and his size to his advantage. But I'll tell you why. You get a guy in there that has the fundamentally sound stance and foundation of boxing and principles, has a decent chin, and could deliver a good pop. Fury's going to have trouble.
Yeah, well, the other issue, every fighter needs a level of confidence, but there's a fine line between confidence and overconfident. And I think that Anthony Joshua, and what you alluded to, I agree with 100%. You know, he's fundamentally sound, and he's getting better, and he's humble. You know, he knows that he's got to learn more, and he knows that he doesn't know it all. And I think it's going to just make a better and better fighter as time goes on. Tyson Fury, on the other hand, believes that he's already there, that he's already great. I agree with you. He is kind of clumsy. He's the Baby Huey style, not to confuse him with his cousin. But the bottom line is he's got those crazy skinny ankles. He's you know, Lennox Lewis was a big guy too, but Lennox Lewis was athletic. I don't see Tyson Fury as being athletic. I would be shocked if Vladimir Klitschko doesn't beat him, but I agree with you. Beat him in the rematch, I should make sure I point out. But
I want to see that fight, Billy. And I think Klitschko, if he does his homework, goes to school, I think Klitschko's going to take advantage of just what we were talking about Fury's style. I think he's going to keep those elbows in to his side. He's going to box. He's going to move his head. He's going to be out there. Klitschko has the potential to beat Fury at his own game.
Well, I think that if he doesn't win, or even if whether Fury wins or not, I think you are going to see a fight between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Even if Tyson Fury retires, he'll come out of retirement to do that. And speaking of retiring, Manny Pacquiao apparently will be in his seat, in his Senate seat. 90% of the Filipino vote to get their senators set are in, and apparently they elect the top 12 people who gets the 12 top vote getters, the way it's worded. And Manny Pacquiao is sitting at number 8 with 90% of the votes in. So it looks like he's going to get the Senate seat that he's vying for. He will serve a 6-year term. What that means for his boxing career, I'm not sure. But there is still talk that Floyd Mayweather and Manny will have the rematch I've predicted. There's also talk that Floyd might take on Danny Garcia. There's also some rumor that Floyd might take on Conor McGregor from the UFC, which I don't believe any of it. I believe that Floyd will fight Manny again, and I'm sticking to it. I don't see him. You know, the fight that I wouldn't mind seeing Floyd fight is the winner of Sean Porter and Keith Thurman, but he's already said no. I would also like to see Floyd fight Triple G. He's already said no. So I think he might fight Sal Rocky Cenicola.
I'll do it. I'll sign tomorrow.
Well,
promise you.
That's the problem. He would go for a guy that he knows he can beat. And no disrespect. No disrespect to you.
Hey.
That's not what I meant. But you know what I'm saying. And, come on. I love you, Sal, but Floyd, I'd have to put my money on Floyd. But speaking of money, and we're going to get into this a little more tomorrow, but the PBC, all right, I'm off. I said that they would be done by the end of May, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen. I said this last year, but I will tell you this. The investors behind the company, Waddle and Reed, and another company that's kind of tied with them, Ivy League Investment, have put a lawsuit against both Waddle and Reed and actually some of the investors. $925 million have been already lost into boxing, and the lawsuit is claiming that basically they said beginning in April of 2013, a couple of top investors for these companies have spent approximately $925 million on a startup and potentially criminal professional boxing promotion company. And of course, they're talking about the PBC. They say these purchases had no economic justification, but rather motivated by, and they're mentioning one of the guy's names, of his own personal interest and benefit. And in lieu of all the other lawsuits that are going on, it's not looking too good for the PBC or Waddle and Reed. It's just mind-boggling that a company that's worth as much money as Waddle and Reed would take such a chance, Sal, and I know that you spent some time in investing business. I just don't understand. I mean, we're not talking about even from an investment company. We're not talking about $1 million here. We're talking about $925 million, $75 million short of $1 billion. What's your quick thoughts?
That's a lot of other people's money, and I don't know. That's a lot. Again, you have the outsiders looking to come into boxing and change and do things, and maybe the intent might be right, but it just never channels in the right
But
direction.
he didn't change anything. He didn't change. And the thing is you I hope everybody caught the choice of words that Sal just used. Other people's money, ladies and gentlemen. And
That's
that
right.
is something that I've been saying since day one. People refer to Al Heyman. Oh, Al Heyman pays his fighters. Al Heyman, he puts money. Al Heyman is doing. Al Heyman hasn't opened up his own checkbook. It's $925 million of other people's money, like
That's
Sal
right.
just said. And, so all this guy did was, set up a new version of what we call smoke and mirrors, and he's pocketed probably, I don't know how many millions of dollars has he benefited from this shim sham scam. And look at what it's done to the sport of boxing. We have wrestling commentators now doing boxing. Boxing has become more wrestling than anything. The only one I like that I love Dana Jacobson. I love her. There's just something about her, and she does one of the broadcasts for him. But aside from her, the rest of them suck. That's just my opinion. They're all his fighters and trainers, and they're just they don't even have ring card girls. They've changed boxing. Maybe they thought that they were changing it new, fresh. I don't know, but it's not working for me.
No, like I said, the intent may have been good, but believe me, the way it's going to funnel and channel, not really. I don't see it. I don't see it, Bill. Don't see it, pal. I don't see it.
Well, listen, we're going to be wrapping it up here, but a couple of quick outside of sports notes. Since the last time we've been live, it appears that Donald Trump will be the Republican candidate for president of the United States, and Hillary Clinton will be the Democratic candidate for the president of the United States. I just read today that the Republican Party is thinking about trying to coax Romney to come in at the last minute, and I don't understand how a political party would try to, I mean, obviously, whether the media wants to accept it or not, and whether we like either candidate or not, the public has spoken. These primaries are votes by the people who go and vote, and Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump have ended up floating to the top as wanted by the people who voted. I don't understand why the Republican Party would try to throw a wrench in it. I think it would do more damage because a lot of arguments over the last 20 years about presidents being elected were elected because of the electoral vote system and not the popular vote. I think that this would be just another a form of a way how you can, screw the people. I mean, what's your thoughts?
Billy, you could open up a whole floodgate with me at this whole thing because, I'll tell you, I am so upset with politics today. It used to be for the people, by the people. That was our founding fathers' intent, and it got lost in the stuff with the fluff right here. And you got these career politicians, these fat cats in Washington. And what has happened with the Republican Party? It's going to implode and be either have to grow and evolve into something great by this whole experience, or they're going to have to look to be fall on the wayside. And I'm a conservative. I'm a lifelong conservative. I used to be a charter member, card-carrying Republican, and I'd pay every year. I'd give to this, give to that. But when I saw in the 90s and early 2000s, they're putting up poor Bob Dole because he was his time, he was dull, he was due, or they put up John McCain or retread, versus the best candidate that could be groomed and be up there. Now, this is a machine. You have the Republican and the Democratic parties. They have their own agenda, and they have their own private concessions between the two parties. And here we are, as the public, we wanting to put the best leaders in our office to give us the freedoms and to give the citizens of this United States of America, the greatest country in the world, an opportunity to be free and to do and to live and do so as we have. But then you look at these machines, they have their own agenda, they have their own party. And what happens with the Republican Party, instead of rallying behind what the people are choosing to be an obvious shining candidate in Donald Trump. Sure, is he flawed in certain areas? Yeah, but can he turn it around and improve and be, yes, he sure can. But the thing is this, they don't want to give him that opportunity. They don't want to rally behind him. They want to even throw in more mud. They want to use another retread, Mitt Romney, who doesn't have the balls and couldn't even do what he should have done 4 years ago, 8 years ago. Because if he did, we wouldn't be where we are now with our current situation. But Romney can't do nothing. Romney's going to be laughed at. If they pull Romney out, he's going to be laughed at. It's pathetic. It really is pathetic.
You know what
they should rally behind, and they should definitely get behind this guy and let Trump try to get coached and try to look at what he's going to do to change the situation, because he's speaking what a lot of the citizens of the United States of America are concerned about. Our defense, our economy, and this war on terror and everything else. And not giving our monies away to these other countries that couldn't give a shit about us and would laugh behind our backs.
No, listen, first of all, Mitt Romney, if he would have had, like you said, the balls to
he
run.
could have won that.
He could have won. He could be the guy we're all talking about right now.
He would be a nice guy. And I was a Mitt fan. I love Mitt.
But what I'm saying is,
Trump have his day. Let's get behind him. Let's see what he could do. Let's make it happen. And you know what? To Trump's credit, that's the fear that the GOP has, because he's disturbing the Republican machine, and he's a threat to the fat cats in Washington.
Exactly, and that's why they don't like him, because he doesn't listen to that bullshit. And you know, the thing is that just to get back to Mitt Romney, you know, if Mitt Romney ran during these primaries, he would be the guy right now. He would, and not only would he be the guy for the Republicans, I think he would beat Hillary Clinton pretty easily. You know, so it's his own fault, and it's the Republicans' own fault for playing games, unless he just wants to be, the guy who they beg and everything. But I'll tell you right now, if they pull a weasel deal, the Republicans, and shake it up to a point where they somehow, steal this nomination from Donald Trump, there's going to be some problems. And, as terrible as she is, Hillary Clinton, as criminal as she is, I'm shocked that people would even vote for her. And if the Republican Party doesn't, go behind their guy, which, whether they like it or not, is Donald Trump, then they're going to hand it to Hillary, and she's not in my opinion, she's not in any position to run a country. I mean,
FBI will have something to say about that soon.
Well, listen. Everybody says that. Oh, they said it about Obama. Oh, he's not a citizen. He's this. He's that. And it's all big BS. They don't want to rock any boats, because they might lose their job. They're on the gravy train. But
that's right.
Anyway. Sal, a lot of fun back. I know we had some time off. We're trying to keep this machine running, but we will be doing a full show tomorrow on tap. We got our Blast from the Past, and Larry has it, and of course you'll be joining me in the morning in the first segment, and we'll go from there, my man.
Well, I'll look forward to it, and I just want to say maybe we could squeeze in tomorrow if we're out of time today. I want to talk a little bit, just touch on a little bit of, complimenting David Lemieux for coming back into the ring, and also put up the question mark, can Amir Kahn come back from this devastating knockout? Because that's tough, Billy, and that's why I'm giving Lemieux credit. You get knocked out, and you pick yourself off the canvas, or you have your handlers pick you up. That's a hard thing to come back to get back in the world spotlight. And I'll tell you what, the shot that Amir Kahn took the other night, that's going to be a hard one for him to come back.
Two really, really great points, and I'd love to chat about it when we go live tomorrow. And as far as the David Lemieux, I thought he looked really good. Get a chance to revisit that fight, and we'll certainly talk about that as we kick off the show tomorrow.
All right, buddy. You got it. You have a great day. I appreciate the time talking with you and all the people out there. And I want to thank Bob for those great compliments and those great comments. Keep them coming.
You're right. You're right. And you could send him the check you promised him as soon as we get off the air.
Absolutely. Hey.
All right, my man. I'll talk to you soon.
Have a great day. Bye-bye, bud.
That's Sal, Rocky, Cenicola. Now, listen, don't forget, tomorrow we will be doing the Blast from the Past, as usual, on Wednesdays. And we will be talking about Muhammad Ali, self-proclaimed the greatest. And a lot of people think so, too. Larry Hazard is scheduled to join us. Sal, Rocky, Cenicola just mapped out some things that we're going to talk about. Where does Amir Kahn go from here? And, of course, the return of David Lemieux. So we'll talk about those things tomorrow and then a bunch of other stuff. So I'll leave you with this. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.